This is the story of Shirley Temple, America's most beloved kid, who received a miniature Oscar for her acting, saved Fox from losing its identity during the Great Depression, and was the most famous movie star of the 1930s. From being cast in roles that objectified her for adult audiences, to being trapped in a soundless box with bricks of ice as a form of punishment, her childhood was unlike anyone else of her age. Let's dive into the dream and nightmare that defined the life and career of Hollywood's biggest little star, Shirley Temple.
Come along and follow me to the bottom of the sea.
Shirley was deemed the most charming, with her luscious curls and captivating demeanor that left a lasting impression on everyone she met. As the Great Depression raged on like a hungry lion, her childhood was sold for raining money. At just 3 years old, Shirley's mesmerizing dance skills, coupled with her undeniable beauty, caught the eye of Charles Lamont, launching her into the spotlight of the 30s. It all began with her mother trying to see her dreams come true through the eyes of her 3-year-old. Shirley's father, George Francis Temple, was a bank employee, while her mother, Gertrude Amelia Temple, was a housewife. Gertrude enrolled her toddler in Meglin Kitty's dance school in Los Angeles. To make her daughter look like the best pick among all the other children, Gertrude began curling Shirley's hair like Mary Pickford's. It was during one of the classes at Meglin Kitty's that Charles Lamont, a well-known casting director for educational pictures, noticed her. He called Temple, who, being shy, rushed and hid behind a piano. But with her parents in the picture, she ended up signing a contract with them. She was offered a chance to feature in short films starring young children, playing the role of adults, and delivering double-meaning dialogues. Her parents were happy with her success. Every night, instead of giving her fairy and princess stories, her mother would make her speak the movie lines she needed to say the next day. Gertrude may say, "You're supposed to feel very happy when you say this line, Presh," or "You're supposed to be eating a thick sandwich while you're saying these lines," and Shirley would practice this bit of action. With an IQ of 155, Shirley was far more gifted than others imagined. Time magazine's 1936 cover article detailed how Bill Bojangles Robinson, a well-known tap dancer, taught her waltz clog, 3-tap notions, and even a soft shoe number. Astoundingly, she learned all of this simply by listening to the sound of Bill's feet. When George Temple lost his job, he began working as his child's agent and financial advisor. Sounds quite normal, right? Wait till we reveal the dark truth behind this mission. Her talent brought her parents a good fortune, but it took a lot of work to get there. Shirley starred in small roles as her popularity grew, modeling for breakfast cereals and other products. Her parents took on as many opportunities as they could. She was being lent from studio to studio, including Universal, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. When educational films filed into bankruptcy, George bought her a contract for $25. Temple was then signed to Fox, making $150 a week, while $25 was given to her mother to coach and to style her daughter's curls for a beautiful image. Her image was often getting used without compensation, which prompted her parents to hire a lawyer. With the help of the lawyer, George and Gertrude were able to see an increase in their daughter's salary. Temple was now earning $1,000 per week from her Fox contract, while her mother would gain $250. And with every completed project, her family would immediately receive a $15,000 bonus, which increased 35 times as her fame began to soar. After appearing in the film Now I'll Tell, Fox loaned her to Paramount, who even offered to buy her contract for $50,000, but Fox, knowing that she was their greatest asset, declined. Shirley provided an escape for Americans through the Great Depression. She didn't have time to live like a regular kid, as she worked 6 days a week for hours on end. Her parents received not only financial benefits, but also industry fame. President Franklin D. Roosevelt even recognized her impact, stating, "As long as our country has Shirley Temple, we will be all right." George and Gertrude did everything to warrant the success of their daughter. Actor Slim Somerville once stated, "So you're the goose that laid the golden egg," slighting Gertrude, who would ensure that any young actors who might upstage her daughter had their parts removed. Here comes the concern. It all began with Baby Burlesques, the collection of 8 short film series. Shirley played countless roles that raised eyebrows and even got banned in certain countries. She starred in films such as Politics in Washington, where she played a prostitute draped in pearls.
Do you know something?
What?
I didn't think I was going to like you at first,
Huh?
but I like you now.
No roles were considered too much by her parents. She went on to play an exotic dancer alongside more than 12 other children on a spoof of a silent movie from World War I. Shirley's new position was to serve the 3 to 5-year-old boys dressed as soldiers and even kiss them in exchange for lollipops. Despite the off-putting roles, Shirley went on to win the first juvenile Oscar for her performances. If the roles were simply a playdate for the kid, then here is something that will shock you. On the set of Baby Burlesques, the director, Charles Lamont, had 2 ways to punish the rebellious toddlers. At first, the infants were forced to stand in a pond of cold water until they calmed down. If they didn't behave as expected, then there was something even worse for them. The director had a soundproof black box that was used to punish kids who continued to cause problems. This box included 6 feet of ice slabs on each side. Now, either the toddlers stay upright in this dark and uncomfortable setting, or they had to sit on this ice until the director decided to open it up. While this sounds like the most horrific punishment to some, Shirley later in her life claimed that the black box had no lasting damage to her psyche. She was quoted saying that the lesson that she garnered from this was, "Time is money. Wasted time means wasted money means trouble." Shirley would often work under conditions that others would find terrible. She even got an ear infection from the black box and had to go through eardrum surgery. Nevertheless, she still had to act the next day. There were no rules, and the writers of these production houses could write and treat actors in any way they wanted to make good money. It wasn't until Hays Code was released that the tables turned for the better. Now, it wasn't simply the filmmakers that terrified her tiny soul. The horrifying acts of predators started after this. The first heartbreaking incident happened during the days when Shirley used to work with Robert Young. It was in one of the Temple scenes for the film Carolina that she stood next to Lionel Barrymore. Yes, Lionel, the actor who played Mr. Porter in It's a Wonderful Life and Captain Larson in Mutiny on the Bounty. Now, while filming the movie with Shirley, the actor forgot his dialogue and had to be innocently reminded by Temple what to say next. Robert Young described the incident, claiming that he was standing behind those two and just grabbed Temple by the arm to pull her away from Lionel, who was on medications and drugs at the time due to the terrible pain. Young described his impulsive action, saying, "Because I thought surely if he ever got his hands on her, he'd crush her head or choke her to death." Seeing so much fury and rage in someone's eyes is quite scary for a child. Despite these unfortunate events, Shirley claimed her childhood had more than prepared her for a life in diplomacy. But these scary moments didn't stop as she grew older. Arthur Freed summoned 12-year-old Temple to his office for a meeting about signing the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer project without her parents' presence. While she was sitting across from him, Freed approached her and undressed his pants, quoting, "I have something made just for you." He unzipped his pants, exposing himself to the adolescent. Shirley admitted in her autobiography that she laughed at this one because she had no idea what it meant. Freed became enraged and threw Shirley out of his office. At least she was safe and out of that office. Well, the next story is no laughing matter. David O. Selznick, the famed producer of Gone with the Wind, showed her the true side of Hollywood. Temple described how Anita Colby, David's artistic director, warned her to be cautious if she ever saw David in stockings and no shoes in his office. She also mentioned how David had a remote door-locking gadget switch on his desk. Temple explained that one day he called her into his office and grabbed her hand. Shirley rushed to the door when she noticed he was only wearing stockings. But before she could open it, he clicked the switch and began running across the table to catch her. Temple stated, "I was trapped, like the cartoon of Wolf and Piglet. Once again, we circled and reversed directions around his furniture." Blessed with the agility of a young dancer and confronted by an amorous but overweight producer, I had little difficulty avoiding passionate clumsiness. This gave her the impression that casual could be a condition of employment when it comes to David O. Selznick. Scary, right? Just wait until you hear this one. George Jessel, everyone's favorite comedian of the time, widely known as the Toastmaster General of the United States, famous for movies like Lucky Boy, The Jazz Singer, or his show, The George Jessel Show. He called Temple to his office, saying that he had a key role for her. While they were standing pace apart, he rapidly opened his trousers and wrapped her with only one arm. She said, "I could feel his other hand groping to lift my shirt." Hard on the heels of Wizard, this new assault seemed unreal, but little could I do but thrust my right knee upward into his groin, and she ran away. Graham Greene, a British writer noted for his works The Quiet American, The End of the Affair, and The Heart of the Matter, wrote unthinkable things about a child who had no idea what her role meant. It was not more than just a fun game for her to trade lollipops for kisses. But Greene, after viewing Wee Willie Winkie, wrote a salacious review about the child. Watch the way she measures a man with agile studio eyes, also stating, "The owners of a child star are like leaseholders. Their property diminishes in value every year." The 20th Century Fox had enough and sued Greene, who had to flee to Mexico. Greene then stated, "I found a cable waiting for me in Mexico City, asking me to agree to apologize to that little Shirley Temple. So I suppose the case has now been settled with the maximum publicity." On top of everything happening in her life, Shirley often had no one to turn to for help. Her mother once prevented her from expressing her emotions at an event when she was extremely hurt. During a press tour as a child, a mayor had accidentally slammed a car door on 3 of her fingers. Her mother, instead of cuddling or comforting her, replied, "Don't cry." She then had to hold her composure. After all, Gertrude convinced her that every single child works and that acting comfortably or lazily was never an option. If we're being totally honest, Shirley only got to be a baby for 2 years of her life. As Shirley grew older, she found it very difficult to book roles in Hollywood. She began to receive fewer and fewer jobs and retired from acting at age 22. But she must have had a large fortune when she resigned from the industry thanks to her films, licenses, and royalties, right? Calculations showed that she must have $3.5 million in her bank account. But when the 22-year-old checked, only $44,000 were remaining. That is when she discovered how things were completely mismanaged by her father, who completely ignored the court mandate to place half of her net earnings into a trust in her name. Her father had spent all of her fortune on luxury and terrible business deals. To free herself from regret and grief, she chose to forgive her father and vowed to leave it all behind. She was quoted saying, "My attitude has always been, get it over with and get on with life." She went into politics and served as U.S. ambassador to Ghana and to Czechoslovakia. Shirley's life as an actress is a representation of how tragic the Hollywood scene can be for a lot of child stars.